You are listening to the People Centric Podcast, where we talk through the toughest challenges that people face at work and give practical advice to fixing those challenges. Thanks for joining our movement to create workplaces that are happier, healthier, aligned, and empowered by putting people at the center of all that we do.
Hello, People-Centric listeners. We are excited to be with you today. And today, I would say, is very special. You have me, Philip Herzog. Glad to be here. But most exciting, we have two authors, Diana Royalty and Don Harkey, the co-founders of People-Centric and co-authors of a new book. So, Don, how excited are you about this book?
I'm so glad, Philip, that you reached out to our agents, our respective agents, and got on the calendar, even though we work two desks down from each other. It was great to be able to have our people work with your people to get this scheduled into our incredibly busy.
They were very helpful. We appreciate your time. And, even though we increased our budget to have you with us today, well worth the investment every time. That's what I always say.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to have this. Yeah, we got the book out.
Did you pay Don to be here? Because
you need a new agent, Diana. A better agent. You need a much better agent.
He did. That's right. His agent was very quick. You're your own.
You signed the check, Diana. I got it today.
Oh, don't worry. I wrote my own check.
Diana. Oh, she wrote her own check. That's it. Yeah. Diana runs the payroll for People Centric. So if at home, so we don't feel like we're doing inside jokes for everybody. Yeah. That's the inside joke. Is first of all, we all work together. We see each other every single day. So there's no agents. There's no agent. We don't have an agent yet.
Unless you count Google and the AI agents that we've created.
Email.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, we have agency. We on our own chose to be here. And we used our agency to do this, and that's where we're at. And okay, I love this too because while the book is something we have talked about at the start of the call, I was sharing when I joined our team at People Centric many years ago. The book was under work; it was being built, and it has had many lives before it got to this point of being published. So I would love to just ask you two things. Maybe we zoom back and say, one, what is the name of the book? Tell us about overall what the book is for. And then I want to dive into why did you guys decide to write a book and how did we do this together? But what is it about high level and what is the name? How can someone find this book?
Well, it's awkward that you asked that question because I really wasn't prepared for it. But the name of the book is Becoming People Centric. It's called Becoming People Centric. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm slowly revealing the book out here. It's a real thing. Look at this thing. It's got pages. It's got some heft. It's a nice little light book out here. It's called Becoming People Centric, Designing Organizations Where People and Performance Rise Together. And you can get this book on Amazon. You can go on to Amazon and you can buy it. And we get to set, I don't know how publishing on Amazon worked. Diana learned a lot about it. I learned a lot about it. Everything I learned about, I learned from Diana. Diana learned it from other experts that we brought in to help us with that stuff. But we kind of get to set the price, and we deliberately set the price. We had to make a decision early on, and we deliberately set the price incredibly reasonably. It's only $10 to go up there and get it, and you can get an audio not audio version, electronic version of it. We haven't done an audio version. You can go do an electronic version of it and download that as well. So yeah, check it out on Amazon.com.
You can get a personalized audio version. That just means become a partner, and then Don or Diana will read the book to you and your team. That is something we could offer. That's audio. No.
I would love to have a stories with Diana time. We could I'll read the book to you. Yeah.
Chapter 1, Becoming People Centric. Chapter 2. Let's give our people feedback. I'm curious. I'm also very curious because you guys both described, Don, you probably did not do the particulars of getting the book officially published. So in both of your roles, you guys have very, very clear lanes and strengths that you play for our team at People Centric and also in this book. So I'm curious, what made you want to do the book? And then how did you guys navigate writing a book together? Because it sounds so simple, but I would love to hear how this unfolded.
Well, I'll confess, and I don't want to answer all the questions, but this is one where I'm the one that needs to confess. So we've been talking about a book for a really long time because I really do think that we have a different approach for what we're doing. One of the things that Diana and I have both noticed, and our whole team has noticed, is that a lot of the leadership books, most of the leadership books out there, they have some really good nuggets of information, but it's so focused on what I'll call the science of how people work, or it's very sciencey. Like it's here's information. We should build trust. People work better when we build trust, when we know why we do things. Or it's very researchy, like good, like classic books like Good to Great, which is like fantastic, but it's a study that then says like these are great organizations and these are not so great organizations, and here's some things we found in common, but they don't tell you how to, then what, now what. So like we see clients do book studies all the time where they'll take books and they'll do things amongst their executive team and they'll read it and they'll be like, well, that's a really good idea. Now, what do we do with it? And then they really fail on what they do with it next. So like my background is engineering. So engineers are what our job is we take science and information and we apply it to do something useful with the information. And so that's what's different about People Centric is we're applying the science and we're saying, how is this useful to implement it? Which implementing it doesn't just mean, okay, you should trust each other. You can't just say that. A team should have trust. Okay, well, let's trust each other. Your organization have a good culture. Okay, so how do we have a good culture? What does that look like? And so we've been studying for years how to create a culture. And we decided that, boy, this is something different that's out there. Nobody's talking about that. Like exactly how do you do it? What's the step-by-step? How do you implement that? So we went to do the book. And the piece where I have to confess is it took us an incredibly stupid long period of time. And the reason it did was because I tried to do it by myself. For a long time in our history, I just thought, well, look, this is I'm the one. I'll take this and I'll run with this. I'll take whether I'm saying I'm taking the burden or I'm taking the glory. And the truth is, it's probably both of those things. And at some and I this was the third major attempt at a book for me. The first two I did on my own. The first one I wrote the whole thing and even printed off a couple copies of it just for that and gave it to some people to read. And the feedback was, this is awful, Don. Don, this is really bad. And I went back and read it and like, this is terrible. You're right. This is really bad. So the second time I did it, I got an editor to work with me and she was fantastic and we walked through it and everything else. But the problem with that book, which someday maybe that book will get released or some version of it, but it ended up being like the story of me, not the story of like how to become people centric. So it was more, and it was very therapeutic. Writing for me is therapeutic. Like it's one of the ways I do a lot of self-therapy is like you write stuff down and journal and things like that. When I'm writing a book, like I'm exploring things and I'm thinking about things and everything, which is really interesting for me to do, not as much for other people. So that's a struggle. So then at some point I realized, like with everything that we do at People Centric, that I'm better with other people. I'm better with Diana. I need Diana with me. Diana is co-founder of People Centric. Diana and I work very, very closely together on what we do for this company because of the way that we think and how differently we think about things. And when Diana and I work together to create something, it's a lot better. And so when I finally asked for Diana's help and said, Diana, why don't we co-author this book? Then it sprang forward relatively pretty quickly, actually. Like we cranked it out pretty quickly. So I know it's a long version of the story, but I just wanted to confess that a lot of the hold off was because of me and my ego and my hubris and my desire to improve myself and those kind of things. And so when I got out of the way, boom, it happened.
Boom, it happened. I feel like that's typically many stories that involve Diana royalty. You're like, there was before Diana royalty, and then Diana royalty came, boom, it happened. And one of my favorite parts while you're talking, Don, is just watching Diana's face. Many expressions and ideas represented, and it's not lost. In many ways, I love your story, and I appreciate your candor of just saying, becoming people-centric, writing the book. The process of writing the book helped you become even more people-centric in this approach, which as a leader, as a founder, that's not easy. It's not always built in.
You have a lot of ideas that when you create a book, you have a lot that goes into it. So you really do have to say, like, what are we trying to accomplish with this thing? Like, what are we trying to get out there? And so I'm really proud of the product that went out there. And Diana really led this effort. And that's why Diana's name is first on the book and everything else, because Diana really just like took the point on it. But it just tells you, like, it's just when you read it, like Diana did some research. Diana, you can talk a little bit about that, but like the tone, like how to put the tone in the book, like how does it go across? Like I'm very storytelling, which works great like in a keynote or a presentation or things like that, and I do a really good job with that. When that translates into writing, you lose some of that, and sometimes you just get to like just tell us about it. Like Diana, you want to talk a little about the style of the book, because I think it's a key piece to it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I did some research about like attention spans and other books, and then I also wanted it to still have our voice. We're very casual. I'm going to say casual. That's probably real. And then it's a lot of what I like. It's just like very direct and easy to understand, and like, I don't know, to the point. And so it's not a huge book. It's like 120 pages or something. But you could pick it up at any chapter, start that chapter, and understand what's going on in it. You can kind of switch back and forth and go to the places you want to go. It does culminate all into like a bigger picture. But if you were like, oh, I just need to know about communication in a company, you could open up the chapter on communication, read it, and have some good things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I kind of intentionally made it to the point, but I do love Don's storytelling. So we made sure there's a story in every chapter. There is some human story, something we've actually done, some client we've actually worked with, some people we actually know are like in the story, so that it is real. It does show you that we have done this specific thing and how it worked out. So there's a good mixture of both of us in the book. There's storytelling and there's directness.
With that, I was curious. Don gave his confession and then shared, your role of helping the voice and getting it out there. So a question, maybe we'll start with you, Diana. Now that the book is out, there's a lot of work into it. What's the point of the book? How do we want this book to help and serve people? How did we plan for it to contribute to the people we work with and people who need and want framework help?
Well, I think it's interesting that you said that want framework help, because I think most people don't know that they want that kind of help. Don had mentioned earlier that there's a lot of books that have a lot of data and a lot of science and a lot of like really great phrases and insights that you can pick up on, but how you actually go and do those things, how do you build trust? How do you make sure that your people feel psychologically safe? All of those things aren't laid out for you. But we took the work that we do with our clients. We said, this is a framework. This is an operating system. Everything you do will fall into these things. This is how it connects, and this is how you do it. So we kind of took all of the science and data, and there are science and data and research points in the book, but we really focused on what do you do with that? Science says this. Now, what do you do with that? Data and research tells you this. Now, how do you apply that? And I think that because Don is very engineering and had that background, and because I'm like a doer, a lot of what we focus on is how you execute the science and the data. So I think that's the main focus of the book, is like, yes, use all of this information that's already out there or been studied for years, but here's how you use it.
As you were talking, it makes me think it's in many ways, I think a lot of what our approach is like, it's the recipe book that you can use. Do you ever go online for a recipe and the first 25 pages or scrolls for infinity where people are like, salmon is amazing. Did you know that salmon are wild caught or are raised in a farm? Did you know that? And it's like everything you could know about salmon. You're like, I just want to make my salmon. I think we have a lot of leaders that are like, yes, what's the recipe? What's the recipe for culture? What's the recipe for success for my team? What are the things I need to do? And I think that the book does a great job. As you mentioned, 120 pages. I'm not a fancy bibliophile. I'm not a huge bookie, but I love a good book. This book is just long enough you can be accomplished in reading a book. You can say, I read a book that was over 100 pages, but it's small enough, to your point, you can get through it and say, I can remember what I read. I didn't get to the end and forgot where I started. I didn't need to learn about the life cycle of a salmon. So Don, I'm curious, what would you add to this culture recipe book that you and Diana created?
Well, I liked what Diana said, is sometimes people don't know that they need this. Like just on a real basic level. I was talking to a business owner yesterday who was talking about his company, and we'd been talking about, he'd gotten to know us a little bit and seen us present at conferences, and he's just intrigued enough to talk with us. But he's also very much a financial person. So he's looking at his P&L and driving his business by that, by looking at the P&L and saying, okay, I can either add more revenue or I can take expenses off. And what we have showed him, or started in our conversation yesterday, he had something that happened where a key person in his organization got upset and frustrated and left, and took a good chunk of revenue with that person. That's the people issues that come into every single organization. And I pointed out to him, and I'm like, what would have happened if you had a system or a better culture where that hadn't happened? If that person had stayed, it would be a game changer on your P&L. Like it's a piece of that. So I think that most business people understand that people have a big impact on your P&L, but when they look at the P&L, they're looking for line items on it, like how's this going to impact things? Are you going to make my people less expensive? Are you going to reduce this? Are you going to increase this? What are you going to do with it? And the answer is like all of those numbers are influenced by your people. So we wanted the book to show you how can you build the culture that connects what the people want and need with what the organization wants and need to ultimately drive your KPIs at the end of the day. Like this stuff is not about, I like in the back cover, it talks about like it's not about motivation, perks, or culture slogans. It's about design. You're not trying to make people happy. Our goal is not to just make people happy or to be altruistic with your business. You don't have to do that. When your people are happier and when your people are more engaged and aligned and they feel empowered and aligned in their organization, you also make more money as an organization. Like the research overwhelmingly shows that. And then we show you how to do that. How do you win over your people to make better decisions that are going to make a big impact financially at the end of the day?
I love that. I love the way, again, our focus on making it really accessible, very doable. The people-centric philosophy is that you can go and do things. You can make a difference. You are the they, so you can go make a difference as the they, as leaders.
Yeah, we were talking about like the stuff that People Centric does differently. And I think we are intentional about including that human element. There's a lot of people that are like very human, treat everybody this way. And then there's a lot of people that are like very profit, right? Very process and profit. And we did this great job of combining both of those things because we know both of those things exist in an organization. So yeah, when Don said we combine the people need and the organizational need, I was like, yes, that's a key tenet. That's what we do.
And that's how the book is laid out. There's 3 parts to the book. The first part is, what do the people need? That's the first part. What do individuals inside the organization need? And it talks about the things that they need, like purpose and community and development and autonomy, those kinds of things. And then we flip into part 2 and say, what does the organization need? And it's things like strategy and communication and execution and leadership. And then the part 3 talks about the framework for how do you combine those 2 things? What systems can you install in your organization, how they work together, and even how to install them in a way that makes it people-centric. Because if you force it on your people, it's not very people-centric. They're going to resist those things, and I think everybody's experienced that too. So that's I like that. It's very clear. Like, here's what your people need. Here's what your organization needs. How do you make sure those things happen? That's the way we laid it out.
It's so valuable too, because there's often that myth that, well, if the organization succeeds, the people are unhappy and the people don't get what they want or what they need, or vice versa. Well, if the people are happy and get what they want and need, the organization suffers because, gosh darn it, people are so freaking needy. But I do think that the book, again, and how we frame this as a team often, is how do both things win? How do orgs and people succeed together? And curious, for the framework, could you give us maybe a 30,000-foot view of that third part of the book, Don? As you said, when it's, okay, people and org needs combined is this framework. We recommend these systems. We've talked about the framework before on this podcast, but give us kind of that perspective, org and people sides, of how the framework supports culture, growth, excellence.
Sure. And when you think of the framework, I can show you like 5 different sets of systems that fit together. But really those sets form one whole system or one whole operating system that work together. And really the magic happens when all of those systems work together. So it sounds like a lot to install, but when you've installed all of them, they work together so seamlessly that it makes it easy. So a lot of times people are overwhelmed, and sometimes when you first hear it and think, boy, we got to do all of these things where in addition to the things we're already doing. No, 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 no. This stuff replaces a lot of the work you're doing. Think about how much time you spend going through your emails, communicating with each other and getting lost of stuff. Think about how many times you have impromptu meetings during the course of a day where you knock on somebody's door and say, hey, do you have a second? Let's talk about that. Think of how much time you spend dealing with drama inside the organization because no one talked to this person. Now they're feeling really, really toxic or negative about the organization. Think about how many times you have to retrain individuals on what they're doing. Think about how many times you try to go hire somebody, you bring them in and they quit on the first day. Think about all of the times that you spend doing all of that stuff. What if you could replace them doing these 5 things? And these are the 5 things inside the framework. The first one is strategy. It's making sure that everybody knows what winning looks like. It's not just strategic planning, it's strategic execution. How do we make sure that we set goals for what we're trying to do and that everybody knows how they fit into those goals and make that really, really clear? The second set of systems is the communication systems. It's how does the information flow up, down, throughout the whole organization? What's the cadence of communication look like? How do we use tools? One of the most basic things that we see, and it's really jumps out now, is that we're using methods from 30 years ago still inside organizations for how we communicate when there's significantly better ways of doing it. The number of executives that I know that are totally trapped inside their email inbox and trying to manage through that and just wait. It's such a waste of time. It's such a bad old way of doing it. We're setting old agendas for meetings and sending them out to everybody and stuff like that. I mean, you might as well be getting those old yellow envelopes, remember, with the little twisty things on them, and write the name and let it, this is the distribution list for this, and it goes around to everybody and you cross your name off of it when you get it. Like it's like there are technologies that are way better. And here's the secret is you all probably have them. You all probably have those tools. So it talks a little bit about that and what the easy ways to implement communication are. We talk about execution systems. At the end of the day, how you execute stuff is really, really important. Do you get stuff done? It's not just how you execute, but how do you make it better moving along the way? The old way of doing it, the non-people centric way is here's how you do it and everybody just does it that way. The new people centric way is that everybody understands what needs to be done and has a voice in trying to improve it to make it consistently better, because people own what they help create at the end of the day, right? So we talk about that. We talk about leadership systems. One of the best way to demotivate your people is don't train your managers. Like, just promote your best people into management roles. Don't give them any training. Don't give them any systems for how to give feedback or anything like that. And what we see is most managers just don't give feedback. They don't know how to give feedback. Most managers don't even know what their job really is as a manager. They just know that suddenly they're overseeing people. So there's systems that you can put in place. So not only how you train your managers and what they need to do, and not on everything. I went to Barnes and Noble this weekend and I saw a manager training book, and it was a textbook that had 38 chapters to it. And it wasn't like how to be a manager. It was like how to be a human, right? It was like how to negotiate better and how to have a better presence and how to have emotional intelligence and how to do. And that's why when you go to conferences and they have management topics, there's 1,000 of those topics, right? What we've done is say, no, let's break it down into the basics of what a manager is. You're evaluating performance. I'm giving feedback. I'm checking for ownership, and I'm coaching, and I'm holding people accountable. And then you have systems that align with that to train me and make sure that you're holding me accountable as a manager, that I'm doing those things. And then the last set of systems are the people systems. It's the special system. It's the one in the center, right? People centric. And that's the center of how do I connect the people to all these systems? How do I hire the right people? How do I onboard them the right way? How do I define the roles? How do I set up my org structure that it makes sense? People don't know how impactful the org structure is. If you have a team and you have a supervisor and they have 85 direct reports under them, how does one person manage 85 people? The answer is they don't. There's too much weight on the beam. You design that bridge poorly, the bridge is going to collapse. It doesn't work. So that's one of the most important systems, in the system that's in the center, because it connects all of those other things together. It connects the people to the roles. So if you're running all of those things, and we just talked about different sets of systems, but they combine really slick. So think about it. You go do strategic planning. What we see a lot of organizations do is you did the strategic planning, we're super hyped up, you have a plan now, you've got some key objectives and some goals. The biggest problem we see is then if you're lacking any of the other systems, what do you do with those goals? Where do they go? Well, if you have our framework in place, you have a place for them to go because you have a communication cadence that's occurring that those goals can fit into. So now you have all these departments. Now the goals feed into those departments, and those departments already have a meeting on a regular basis to look at those goals, keep them in front of them, and make progress towards those goals. And then how do we execute on those goals? Well, you have execution systems where while you're executing on those goals, then they can improve processes and develop them and help them evolve along the way to continuously improve with the input from your people. And then how do you hold accountability to that execution? You also have leadership systems that support all of that to make sure that the people are doing what you need them to be doing. So it's not 5 different sets of systems. It's 5 components really within one operating system that makes your organization just work better with people. So that's the high level. I hope I did well with that. Diana, I saw you nodding a lot. I don't know what you'd add.
No, I think you hit it. That's a good high level. All of the systems connect. They're all important, and you have to take both sides into consideration. Both sides of that framework, the individual needs and the company needs in that framework. Mm-hmm.
I think that as we kind of close out our podcast, I'm curious from both of you. Don, you made a comment earlier on that writing this book together was a meaningful experience, and it probably added depth and color to the framework in a sense. But I would love to hear from both of you just what it's been like to, as co-founders of People Centric, as co-authors, like what it's meant for both of you in writing this together. You know, whether it's something that you've learned about each other, yourselves, or just the greater depth of the framework. It's kind of a big question, but like what has been the change, the meaningful difference that this book writing process has been for you? If we end there, I would love for our listeners to get to hear that story and that impact.
Yeah. I'll start with Don and I do so many good things together, and I think it's really interesting when we bring a topic to each other and say, like, I think there's something here, because he'll see something and then I'll see something and we'll kind of bounce it off each other. But we took, I don't know, I want to say several years to just like keep testing that framework. We like tested it and tested it and tested it from both angles that we each have, and like with all of our clients and all of the stuff. So we just kept like, I don't know, we were like T-Rexes at Jurassic Park, just testing that fence. So we just like kept testing it and make sure no one could escape. And it doesn't. Everything we've done keeps fitting into this framework and keeps building on it. And I think the book made us take a step back and look at the whole thing and be like, okay, this really does work. And this is how each part of it works. And this is how it all works together. And so I thought it was really interesting that we both came to the same conclusion, but in very different ways. And that generally happens with us. I come to a conclusion, he comes to a conclusion. We got there differently, but it's the same thing. And I think when we do that, we know it really works. And so that's kind of the outcome of that. We know it really works.
Yeah, I like that. If you have a problem that people are connected with, this framework has worked every time. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have people problems. Like sometimes people, so all my people problems will go away. No, it means that it handles it really well. So like if your hiring process fails and somebody sneaks into the company who's not supposed to be there, the leadership system kicks in and manages that stuff. If there's a communication breakdown, the execution system picks up on it and says, okay, there's a problem here. Let's fix this. The strategy system helps you to redesign the whole machine as you're building it to be able to keep up with the things that you're doing that, again, plugs back into the other systems. So, I mean, the systems do manage the threats. Yeah, the piece I'd add to that is, yes, when we're working together on those things, it was, to me, the lesson was that when I tried to do it in a non-people centric way, where I'm just going to go solve the problem myself, sometimes I jokingly call it vanilla ice leadership, right? If there was a problem, I'll solve it. It didn't work very well. And again, when we opened it up to our team, and so like, not only did Diana and I get to come together and be able to put this thing together and go through it like Diana discussed it, we also brought it to our whole team and said, here's the draft, like give us notes. And I think everybody gave us like notes on it and said like, hey, clarify this piece or add to this piece or something. Like we truly did it as a company in terms of putting this book out. And I think that it brought our team together. I think it brought Diana and I closer together. And Diana and I have been through some stuff Not just, but I mean, in our individual lives and just things and starting a company. And I mean, if you don't know our history from People Centric, like it's a shoestringed company. Like it's not from nothing. Like we brought it up from nothing. Like no, just a vague idea
Dirt
to
floors.
their dirt floors, kids couldn't eat, like nothing, like bad, like we're not sure what we're doing. We're trying to build it.
You literally brought a side of beef as like a payment one time. Was it?
Yeah, we had a client, an early client who couldn't afford to pay us, and they gave us meat.
Yeah,
Which is
I was
very
a vegetarian.
satisfying.
It's fine.
It's very satisfying. You were a vegetarian at the time. You learned because you were hungry and we had to eat.
I was hungry.
But yeah, we don't have it all figured out. But this is, I mean, the culmination of years and years and years and years of work together to say what works best. And the best thing about it is we're not the researchers studying the science. Like, look, we lean on the researchers, the great researchers out there that are doing really good work out there. Brene Brown, the Adam Grants, like those types of folks are putting out like lots of good research and saying, here's what the latest things are saying. And our team is watching that stuff. But then we're working with real clients and saying, where does it fit? What parts of the framework do we need to adjust or tweak or put in there? And from the framework side, like there hasn't been major adjustments on that for a long time. Like we really have seen that work. The tweaks are little tweaks now. When you look at other operating systems like EOS or Great Game of Business or things like that, those are other things that claim to be operating systems. They do really well for what they do. They do not ultimately totally connect people to the business. They're missing something. All of those systems are missing something. They take a gap or they fill a piece. They're really good systems, and we've got lots of our clients who use those systems as part of their framework. We just say, okay, if you're going to use Great Game or EOS, that doesn't cover your leadership. There's nothing in either one of those systems that helps your leaders, your managers be good managers. So if we can implement our systems in a flexible way to match these other things, we don't have to completely change your language. We don't have to force how you implement it. That's what the third chapter is about. We can meet you where you are and implement this in a way that's going to have the best and quickest impact on your organization. And I'm proud that our team spends our time doing that in real life. That's why I hope you listen to this podcast. You hear our team. We give practical insights because it's stuff that probably happened the last few weeks. There's stuff that we're trying to work real businesses through. That's how we're doing it. We're engineers. We're not scientists. We're not out researching. We're applying the science to organizations and then reporting back what we're learning and making tweaks.
Your point is well taken. I often say the framework, it's one of those, the cliche where the rubber meets the road. I often say like, yep, the framework is a lot of rubber that meets the road. And we take it off-road too. There's not a situation, there's not a team that we have met where the framework did not help them, where it did not apply. Thank you both. I have loved watching you both through this process. I don't know how many people listening have ever gotten feedback before. Feedback is not always easy to have, especially when it's about the written word. There's something really powerful about getting words and ideas on a page, and it's so personal. Right. And so I think that this book in many ways is a labor of love to apply the really hard-earned, hard-learned science application you guys have both put into it. So any final words as we round out?
I would just say, like, I think putting this together, first of all, it feels like an incredible accomplishment to finally put this thing together for this. But what has surprised me is that when I turn around and look, like I've wanted to have a book for a long time in my career, is when I turn around and look at it, the book itself is not the part that feeds me the most. The part that feeds me the most is a little bit the impact that we've made for the clients. I'd like to say that, but it's more the relationships within our own team. And sorry, clients, if you're listening to this, that's just true. We talk about team, client, community things. It's the people that I get to work with on the day to day. It's the time that I got to spend with Diana thinking through this. It's the time I got to spend with our team. How do we apply this? How do we work this? How do we fine tune it? And trust me, we're still working hard to continuously improve that process. That process has been the most rewarding and surprising for me. So yeah, I'm proud that we got the book out. It's really, really cool. But I'm more proud that I get to show up every day and work with the team that I work with.
I love that. I'm going to add something not as sweet and sentimental. What I'm going to add is that while we were working on this, I loved it. I had such a good time. It was such a weird, heavy lift that took so long that I didn't think about it being out in the world And now that it's out there, it feels really weird. Like, I see people having it like in their backpack. It's real, it's physical. People have like messaged me and been like, read the book, or I'm reading the book. And I didn't think about that happening. There was something about just getting it to the finish line. And now that it's out there, it feels weird to me. So I'm incredibly grateful that people are picking it up and liking it and using it and applying it. Because honestly, I didn't think about that part. I didn't think about it. So I'm pretty excited that it's there.
Well, thank you both for leading the movement, for putting this work together, to building a team. And, maybe my last thought, what I love about the title of the book, Becoming People Centric. It's a present active tense. So Don, to your own example, it's always a work in progress. It's always an evolution. It is not titled Arrival, what it was like to be people centric. It's becoming people centric. So for those listening, you can go to Amazon, find Becoming People Centric, reach out to us. We do this work every day. This is our jam. And so coming at you next time from the People Centric Podcast. Be well.
Thank you for listening to the People Centric Podcast. We are so grateful for you joining us every week. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share on your social media with everyone that you know. It really does help us. If you would like to contact us, I have put our information in the show notes. Please reach out anytime. We love hearing from you. We will be back next week with a new topic. Until then, be well and lead well.